Horror and immersion go hand in hand. It's a genre best experienced with all one's senses, and what better perspective to heighten that than first person? Sure, the over-the-shoulder camera angles have dominated horror games for some time, but nothing can quite capture the immediacy of a jump scare like the first-person perspective. We're aware that some especially iconic titles may not be represented here. This is a list comprising hidden gems alongside some other titans of the genre, so don't be too discouraged if your favorite game isn't included. Just let us know what it is in the comments. Without further ado, here's 15 first-person horror games you absolutely need to try out. Sons of the Forest. Sons of the Forest is perhaps one of the best realized fusions of survival sandbox gameplay and horror. At first glance, it seems like just another in a long line of sandbox crafting games. Yet, it executes both elements so well that the experience eclipses expectations. Between the uncanny swamp mutant abominations to the unpredictable scenarios and clever diegetic crafting menus, Sons of the Forest is not to be missed. Layers of Fear 2023. If you prefer more subtle horror with psychological leanings, Layers of Fear might just end up being a new favorite. Labyrinthian creepy mansion? Check. Mysterious past to uncover? Check. Heaps of atmospheric storytelling and puzzles to solve? Check. This game hits all the marks of classic survival horror from days past, with echoes of Resident Evil, Silent Hill, and even The Shining. Fans of the Silent Hill 2 remake should especially consider checking out this gem from Bloober Team. Ghostwire Tokyo. Ghostwire Tokyo takes a more unconventional approach to horror, ditching the survival aspects and replacing it with some good old karate with magic. The atmosphere of the game is a highlight. Shibuya is haunted and desolate, with nothing but neon lights and abandoned belongings of those who went missing. Your adversaries are modern-day interpretations of yokai from Japanese folklore. These take the form of blank-faced salarymen and headless schoolgirls, to name just a few. The fast-paced action of the magic karate doesn't take away from the unsettled nature of the empty Tokyo streets or the creative enemy designs. Resident Evil Village. Resident Evil does all the things excellent that survival horror is supposed to. It situates players into a vulnerable position with a lack of resources, and the atmosphere and zombies are downright terrifying. Resident Evil Village does the classic formula and vibe well, filling the journey with a blend of slower-paced exploration and puzzles with tense set-piece moments and boss fights. Village does a particularly good job with its contrasting environments and themes. The Baroque Castle Dimitrescu feels so distinct from Heisenberg's industrial factory, and it's all framed through an interesting folktale lens to boot. Amnesia Rebirth. The Amnesia series does one thing better than pretty much every other horror series: instilling vulnerability to the player. Like previous Amnesia titles, Rebirth features no combat. Encounters must be overcome through escapes, puzzle solving, and exploration. But unlike other past games, Rebirth takes place out in the desert instead of a factory or other claustrophobic interior. You play as Tassi, a pregnant woman searching for her missing crew within the vast Algerian desert. You're still sneaking through interiors such as pitch-black caverns and creepy abandoned ruins though, so it retains that dark atmosphere despite its unique setting. System Shock Remake. For those itching for deep choice-driven gameplay mechanics, System Shock Remake is a sure bet. The original is a seminal classic in the survival horror space, but being one of the first immersive sim games to reach broad appeal. The ship's AI, Shodan, remains one of the more engaging villains of the genre. The sci-fi ship almost feels haunted by Shodan, with the persistent monitoring and sabotage of various ship systems engaging the player's every move. The game's atmosphere complements her constant presence with eerie rattles and distorted sounds almost too well, and the modern remake polishes those scares to a beautiful and terrifying shine. Choo-Choo Charles. Taking a different turn is the indie game Choo-Choo Charles. This is the ideal horror game on the list if you don't have a lot of time to invest, as it only takes around 3 to 4 hours to go through. The promise is both unique and simple. You collect eggs and do tasks for NPCs in order to summon the villainous train, Charles, to defeat him. It's a unique and charming concept, and Charles' jump scare attacks provide ample scares. Visage. Visage is another indie horror game, but this one is often lauded as a spiritual successor to PT. You're stuck exploring a 1980s suburban mansion, one that's both haunted and filled with locked doors. Aside from the numerous puzzles to solve, you must keep your sanity in check by avoiding dark zones and ghost attacks. Those looking for an unpredictable PT-like experience owe it to themselves to play Visage. The Mortuary Assistant. Ever want to inspect dead bodies and exorcise demons in a video game? Well, this solo-developed indie horror title provides that and then some. The Mortuary Assistant puts the players into the shoes of a newly trained assistant at a morgue, tasked with performing her job of preparing corpses for burial. However, it isn't just another mundane job. Demons regularly inhabit the corpses, and Rebecca must exorcise them out in between her paid work. The story is somewhat procedural as well, providing a good amount of replayability. Ad Infinitum. Ad Infinitum represents yet another creative premise on this list. Players take on the role of a World War I vet coming home to take care of an ailing father. The horror takes from the trauma suffered in the trenches. The trauma is represented by monsters scouring the house through the mind of the veteran. In gameplay terms, this means solving puzzles around the large house while overcoming the threat of monsters. Phasmophobia. Phasmophobia is perhaps the most widely played game on this list, which may come as a surprise for some. Social deduction games have been popular of late, and Phasmophobia channels that chaotic premise into a terrifying horror atmosphere. Investigating ghosts as a team may not sound like the most terrifying thing compared to other horror games, but the slow unraveling and eventual reveal of the ghost and the player's possession by it can be a shock, even in a group setting. Still Wakes the Deep. Described as the thing on an oil rig, Still Wakes the Deep is another game on the list with no combat whatsoever. Players must rely on stealth and avoidances when it comes to monster encounters. The oil rig evolves as the story progresses, with previously explored areas becoming flooded or wrecked. The lack of a HUD helps sell the atmosphere even more. If you enjoy traditional explorative horror, give Still Wakes the Deep a try. Nightmare of Decay. For those on a tight budget, this $4 indie horror game just might do the trick, especially for fans of old-school action horror titles. Nightmare of Decay plays a bit like a first-person Resident Evil 2 with its generous ammo supply and healthy number of zombies infesting the mansion. And there's plenty of mansion to explore here, with puzzles and numerous weapon types scattered about. This is a hidden gem for the Resident Evil 2 fans. Stay Out of the House. You didn't think we'd get through this list without a slasher-themed horror game, did you? Stay Out of the House is a straight-up cannibal escape simulator. Your goal is simply to survive from the serial killer cannibal stalking the house and surrounding neighborhood. It's done on a budget, but with tasteful retro filters to make the PS1 aesthetic charming rather than a detriment. The Outlast Trials. The Outlast Trials is a clever take on cooperative horror gameplay. The game follows a structure that updates the player's abilities upon successful trials. It's one of those titles with superb gameplay and story integration. Set during the Cold War, players are sent to compete in trials against failed recruits who have become psychologically deranged and dangerous. There's plenty of lore through radio recordings and environmental details that enrich the experience beyond that of just another horror game. Hey, did you know that we at Gaming Bolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.